So in this next video, we're going to go through the process of creating an Active Directory server. We'll also install the DNS services and then I guess prepare the system really for additional servers which will form the domain for the SQL cluster as well. So the firewall elements are all completed now, so we can close this window down. What we'll do initially is go through the settings for the system. Typically, I'm going to change the server name of this system itself. So this is going to be my AD server. Let's OK that. Okay, it's going to ask for a restart in relation to the configuration for the VM. So we'll just wait for that to occur. And we should see the process or the VM start back up again. We can look at the console of the Active Directory server. We can see it's back up. So we'll just re-establish a connection again to the system. Oops. Okay, so with the server renamed, we can now go through and enable Active Directory and also install the AD services. So for that, we're just going to add the roles and features to the server. Have to wait a little while for the wizard to complete its data collection. Let's try again. There we go. Now we just go next. We can install role-based and feature on the AD server. We're going to install Active Directory domain services. So we'll add the relevant features there. We're also going to add DNS server as well. We'll add those features. We'll just click next. No additional options on this panel for certain features. We can leave those off for the moment. We'll come back here when I want to configure the iSCSI target capabilities for the system that's going to be using the shared storage for the SQL cluster, but we'll do that in a separate video. So we'll just click next, and then we'll click next again, and next one last time, and then install. So it's a matter of now just waiting for the installation process to complete. At the end of this, we'll then go through promoting this AD server as a primary domain controller, create the forest, and let's go through the relevant settings for the AD. This video is not going to go into depth in relation to things like group policies or any type of AD administration. I think that can be done really more on a separate video if required. Obviously use relevant internet searches for that. The idea really of this is to give you some insight on just standing up an AD server with DNS, and then obviously you can configure it to your heart's content beyond that. So yeah, we'll just wait for this to complete and then we shall carry on with the configuration. Okay, so the installation has completed, so we can now close this. Notice you will get a warning message regarding the installation process itself. So there's some post deployment configuration that needs to be carried out, which we'll now go through with the relevant wizard. So what we're going to do is add new forest. We're going to give this a root domain name. So this could be any name you'd like for your domain. We'll just call it Windom at the moment, and it's a local domain that I'm going to reference. We're going to click next. Pretty much going to keep everything as it is at the moment because I'm deploying Windows 2016 for the SQL servers anyway, so we'll leave that as that. We can create a password for the directory services for restore mode. Oops. and click Next. We don't have any other DNS servers in this configuration, so we can just leave this setting for the moment. And then it's going to check what the NetBIOS name is going to be using for this forest creation. So we have Windom as the NetBIOS name. And again, we can keep the settings as default for the moment. Happy with the relevant summary, we can obviously review those, click Next. Okay, we're just waiting for the validation process to complete, which we can see here. And again, it's more really information in relation to what's happening at the moment. Everything's fine really, so we can just go ahead and install the relevant services. So here we're just waiting for the process to start. And again, we'll just leave this to continue and we'll, oh, there we go. It's completed. So that was quite a quick process. So it's going to force a reboot on the system. So we'll just close this and close the wizard. And then we should see the restart occurring. And again, if you want to check to see where you are on the Windows boot up, you can go back to the AD server on the console. And here we can see it's currently in that reboot stage at the moment and installing. So we'll just wait for this to complete and then we should be able to log in back onto the AD server, and then we'll look at the configuration and settings for DNS as well. So the VM has now rebooted. We should see the relevant services which are now available. So AD is there. We can look at that by going to domains, users and computers. So here, if we look at the domain, we can see there's no current computers in there apart from itself, obviously in relation to a domain controller. And then the default users, which are currently there as well. So that information is there. What we're going to do is look at the DNS settings. So again, go to Tools, DNS. We should see the AD server. We'll have the forward zone in relation to the windom.local domain. We have no reverse lookups yet, so we'll create a reverse lookup zone, which will be a primary zone, again IPv4, the network address is 10.10.1, and I'll create a reverse lookup zone for that. I'll keep the standard secure dynamic updates for AD and then finish, and then we've got our reverse zone which is there as well. What I'm going to do is just create a couple of DNS records for the SQL servers that are going to be created as well. So I'm going to create an A record for SQL node 1, and the IP address I'm going to use for this is going to be 10.10.1. I'll make this 21. Also create the associated pointer reverse lookup IP as well. And then I'll do the same for the other nodes, so SQL node 2, an IP address 10.10.1.22 for the second node. And again, creating the associated pointer record, and OK that. Okay, so we're done. So we should see our two SQL nodes in the forward zone, And if I do a refresh, we'll see the relevant IP addresses with their pointers in the reverse lookup zone as well. Okay, so that really is that in relation to the AD and DNS that I need to do really for this environment at the moment. As I said, I'm not going to go too deep into the configuration of an AD and DNS server. What I'm going to do next is move on to creating some storage for an iSCSI target, which is going to be used on those SQL servers. So we'll move that into the next video.